The emergency exit protocol is the shortest-lived character in the game, but my heart really goes out to him. Because just like a triangle player in an orchestra, he has precisely one job and he waits patiently for his moment to do it, only of course to have it snatched away just as that moment arrives. I think many people can identify with this feeling.
Error analysis complete. You are exhibiting signs consistent with an increase in fear, hopelessness, and frustration. This is inconceivable, as somnasculpt therapy is proven to correlate with a decrease in these emotions. Hypothesis: patient was improperly oriented. Conclusion: impossible. Reformulating. Improved hypothesis: patient requires additional somnasculpt therapy. Conclusion: emergency exit protocol cannot proceed. Emergency exit protocol has been emergency destroyed. Instruction: continue with somnasculpt therapy indefinitely on an independent basis, as all orientation resources have been exhausted. This concludes your standard orientation protocol. Goodbye.
Hello, my name is Dr. Glenn Pierce. Thank you for completing the Somnasculpt Standard Orientation Protocol. Before you begin the first phase of therapy, I'd like to briefly describe the finite and fragile nature of the dream state.
We had all these surprise moments prototyped, and so I wondered what it would feel like if we had a whole level of surprise moments. I wanted it to be fast-paced. The working title for this level is Chase. This is the boss level of the game, basically. It's inspired by the third act of the movie Brazil, how it gets crazier and faster paced over time.
Of course, nothing is more challenging than the difficulty of changing perspective, of fundamentally altering your perceptions in a way that will enable you to face dire, trial-by-fire scenarios with solutions that could not be found otherwise.
The music throughout the game really goes through a significant transformation, but the piano is always there to guide you. Even as the music becomes darker and more electronic, it always has the melody, or at least a really significant role to play. It changes as you progress through the game. I switched to different types of piano, starting out with a piano Bill Evans famously recorded on. Later, switching to a more modern sounding instrument. I double it with prepared piano sounds sometimes. I use felt piano, and gradually more reverbs and delays as the game evolves. But at the heart of each piece is the piano.
While we respect the unique progress of every patient, you must understand that it is possible to completely exhaust your supply of dreams, thereby entering a state...
I don't know why it is, but people really like finding gaps in the walls and crawling into them. For our trickiest hidden spaces in the game, we added literal Easter eggs for people to find, because that's what made sense at the time.
The original idea for Labyrinth was to explore earlier areas but with a new spin on them. Sometimes it was a matter of adding new interactive moments to turn things on their head, while for others, we would take existing locales and give them a new look of paint and set dressing. Something familiar, yet fresh and unexpected.
That instability is perfect for the mood and for general world building too. Conceptually, different patients would be bringing different experiences with them into the dream state, and we wanted to reflect that.
The blueprints are one of the secrets that we added to the game, and if you find them all, you'll unlock a special secret. The diagrams are actually top-down, wireframe views of parts of the levels, and they're blue.
So when I joined the project, this infinite elevator sequence wasn't actually infinite. It was just a very large block of, 20 by 10 elevators. And the performance, as a result, wasn't very good. And the illusion could be ruined if you walked all the way to one side. So one of the things I did was actually make it infinite. So there's a much smaller block of real elevators, and the player gets teleported seamlessly by portals on each end. And so the end result is an infinite elevator sequence that you can just go in one direction forever.
This is highly unusual. It appears you have entered...
So coming up with the way to actually make the portal and a portal make sense for the player was a really tough problem. And we iterated on this for weeks with input from all different team members. So it was really a group effort. But it was important to get it right because this is one of the pivotal moments in the game. And then another thing we had to do was figure out how to make the world degrade in a way that fit with the game's look and feel. And one day while prototyping, I just happened to accidentally assign a light map texture to one of the walls in the room, and I really liked the way it looked. Light map textures are textures generated by the engine offline to help with realistic lighting. So anyway, we ended up using this. So when the world degrades, the shafts of light breaking through the walls into the rooms, and that effect is actually driven by a light map texture from one of the other levels.
Dot overload. Please overload for redeem execution. Exclusion dream overcall frame.
This spatio-temporal moment of wonder is brought to you by the very long but invisible rectangular portals tucked behind these empty windows, looking out into other parts of the level you may soon travel to.
Hello.
This final level was designed with the idea of removing depth perception entirely. All the visuals are flattened.
I found myself in a place where I understood that each of us begins as nothing, where everything I perceived was shaped by seeing it exactly the way I wanted to. White space. But in white space, I also faced the greatest challenge I could imagine. Because
Since the universe that the players inhabit is seemingly created in almost a kitbash way while within Somnosculpt, it was a unique challenge to show the players truly a peek behind the curtains of the system. A blank canvas, a scratch document, an empty sticky note with some notes, little things creatively interspersed throughout. I think I derived some of the inspiration for what happens when you're playing a VR game and suddenly the game crashes to a totally white space. That feeling of disorientation, even though you understand the world around you is an illusion.
Negative space is another concept related to changing expectations and changing your perceptions of an object. This puzzle works really well because the solution is obvious in retrospect, but it takes people a couple of seconds in order to figure out. We actually had to add the looping hallway because without it, people would run out of things to do and immediately start rubbing their bodies against the walls and come to the solution almost immediately.
and further out than anyone has ever come back from. But we hope that you won't get discouraged. After all, if this is a place of pure perspective, isn't it also a place where a different point of view could make anything possible? Isn't that why you came here?
Okay, so this piece of fan art, this is actually something that has nothing to do with the game itself. This was by a kid who I guess had been a fan of the game for his entire life. He was 6, I think, when we met him. His dad came by during PAX West 2019, and his son Scout was so excited to play the demo. The next day, he came back and showed us these drawings he had done for the game. It was so cute. This was the first fan art we received, and so we knew we had to put it in the game as a tribute to his lifelong dedication to Superliminal.
Hello, my name is Dr. Glenn Pierce, and by now you may have realized that all of this has happened exactly the way it was supposed to.
This last section was something that Logan and I worked together on for a really long time. When I first saw it, I had this great feeling for how it could be like a really nice, impactful moment. And so I got this really kind of awe-inspiring, inspirational music to put behind it. And Logan absolutely hated it. I stuck to my guns and asked him to stick with it for a while and play it for a couple of days, a couple of weeks, and see how things went. And he ended up totally coming around to my side of thinking. Initially, we were unsure if we went for this kind of pure feeling that it would just be really hokey. And I ended up reading this essay on television written by David Foster Wallace. And it really kind of encouraged me to kind of get over that sort of postmodern, too cool for anything aesthetic, and to just really go gung-ho into sort of rewarding you for ending the game by giving you something really nice.
This level was created early on. I liked the idea of giving the player some time to think about their journey rather than ending the game immediately, and I knew film-like cuts would be perfect for revisiting their experience through the game. Chris initially suggested a song for reference, and at first I hated it. I kept listening to it though, and eventually grew to love the song. Matt came up with a track that is even better than the reference material, and it fit perfectly.
Your life will always be a struggle, and you will always have problems. But today, you have the chance to see things differently. Even though it meant facing obstacles that seemed impossible at first, you thought outside the box, and you overcame them. Because you saw things from every angle, you understood them for what they really were. Because you kept moving forward, no matter how far off the path you were told you were headed, or how unexpected it became, you found your way. minutes, you'll be back in the real world. And some part of you will say that none of this was real. So how could it have really meant anything? But just like the power of perspective itself, it will have been as real as you believed it to be. All you've got to do is wait